right now. We got a lot to dive into with Jason Fitz from ESPN Radio as he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. And Fitz, yesterday, I guess it was Monday or Tuesday it was, when the Big Ten made the decision to not play football. The Pac-10 followed them, and now here we are. We got 2 of the 5 not playing college football. Where do you see this thing kind of going? Because I still think it is a shocking thing to hear, hey, there's going to be no college football in the fall for those 2 conferences.
Look, I still think that the other 3 conferences are going to try desperately to play, and this is where I actually disagree. It's rare that I disagree with Dan Orlovsky, but I saw Dan Orlovsky on Get Up this week say the NCAA needs one group of medical experts making all their decisions. I actually disagree with that because, frankly, if you got a bunch of neighbors and they're all getting home inspections, I want to be able to pick my own inspector. And the hill they're going to die on are the medical experts that they speak to. And so it doesn't surprise me that each conference is taking their time with their own medical experts, knowing how each portion of the country's handled this differently. So I think that you're going to have to pry the college football season out of the SEC's cold, dead hands at this point. They're going to try somehow, some way to play. I'm a little surprised to see the Big Ten made the decision so early in the process, but we're going to end up with this very convoluted possibility of 3 conferences playing in the fall, 2 playing in the spring, and that just seems impossible. Like, spring football feels a lot more difficult than I think people realize it is going to be. So I think all we've seen is the delaying of the inevitable cancellation for 2 conferences. The other 3 conferences realize that, so they're going to try desperately to get it done.
How would, the national championship work out if you have these teams and these conferences playing in the spring? Are they fighting for their own title while you have the fall teams fighting for their own national championship title?
I mean, that's a really great question. I think the national championship is going to be just something we don't even talk about, which this will be the first time in the modern era that there hasn't been a college football national champion. I think that goes back to around 1930, somewhere in that era. So you're talking way back, the last time we didn't have a college football champion. I don't see how reasonably the playoff committee, what, are they going to wait and let fall football happen and then spring football happen and then make a decision? They can't do a playoff at that point. So I think that we're going to see, especially if it ends up this fraction, that there simply won't be a playoff committee. There won't be a champion. Teams will be playing for some sort of conference championship, and that's it.
Jason Fitz with us. So Big 12 confirmed it's moving forward with their season. So that means, as you mentioned, the 3. The Big Ten teams and the Pac-10 teams, I mean, they've essentially said, or some of them have said, look, we're going to look to go play elsewhere. What makes them different from, say, Notre Dame, who just got picked up by somebody for a year? Do you think that those schools have a right to say, you know what, if someone's willing to pick us up and put us on their schedule, why can't we play?
No, unfortunately, for a lot of college football fans. The Notre Dame situation is so different because in every sport other than football, they're part of the ACC, and they're an independent in football. So they've got really no skin in the game with other schools. The problem for Nebraska, for example, is that their move out of the Big thing that, a huge negotiation point. It was all about cash. The rest of the schools in that conference aren't going to be keen on letting somebody just step away and play somewhere else. How does that money get split? What happens? There's so many details that I think have to be worked out, and that ultimately would be decided in court, and I don't think court could get it done fast enough. So whereas these schools are coming in like Nebraska and Ohio State saying, fine, we'll just play somewhere else, it should be okay. Now, I can't see any situation where a conference is going to let a star school go play with a different conference just because they're not playing football. I think the bigger story on this is what happens to players that still want to play that won't have the opportunity to transfer quickly. I mean, if you're Justin Fields and you wanted to get another season under your belt, this really stinks for him. And let's remember that this time last year, Joe Burrow was projected to be a 6th-round draft pick. Instead, he put up the greatest season we've ever seen. So the Joe Burrows of the world at this point are really, they've got nowhere to go and nowhere to play. So I feel for the kids, but there isn't an easy way legally to let these schools go play for other conferences.
It's interesting you brought that up because I was going to ask, is it too late for these players to start jumping ship? Would you see players who are committed to go play at a Big Ten school and they go, hold on, maybe I find a way to transfer to an SEC school or something of that nature?
They're going to try. The question is the NCAA going to be helpful for the first time ever? And we all know that the NCAA's immediate transfer rule is already the most curious thing in the world. It's like, I have no idea. I can only imagine that there's a little elf behind a magic curtain that arbitrarily makes a decision on who's able to play and who's not able to play, because We've seen the NCAA make flat-out irresponsible decisions when it comes to giving eligibility to players that want to be around sick family, for example. So now are they going to be quick in their action and letting players go somewhere else? We've never seen the NCAA be nimble in anything that benefits players. So I lack the confidence in the NCAA to do the right thing, but they should do the right thing here, which is if your school's elected not to play, allow these kids to go play somewhere else so they can still control their future. But that would take the NCAA being pro-player, and I lack faith in them to do that.
Jason Fitz, it's Spain and Fitz debuting Monday night here on 97.3 ESPN, 7 o'clock. And obviously, the draft could be a whole different scenario. Do you anticipate that a lot of the top college players just opt out and that we really see a defining moment for college football?
Yes, and look, it's not just top players. I think anybody with the top 4 round on their grade right now, if you think you can go in the top four rounds, I'm not sure you're risking it. And here, guys, I think is the most interesting and under-talked part of what we're seeing right now, which is the combine. Because think about it. Usually you finish your college football season. If you're a great player, you have weeks. You know, if you play on a team that won a national championship, you have weeks to get ready for these random drills that matter so much at the combine. Well, what are we going to do when instead of that, all of a sudden you have a group of players that have spent 6, 7, 8 months working on arbitrary things like a 3-cone drill? I think we're going to see combine numbers like we've never seen before, and we have less tape on some of these players. So it's going to be really enticing for workout warriors to rule everybody's draft board. And are we going to see NFL teams sort of reach for somebody just because they put up huge numbers in Indy? I think it's real, and it's going to affect teams for the next 3 to 5 years in the NFL landscape that overreact to numbers we've never seen before. And if you're a wide receiver and you're thinking about opting out, do you really want to go into the combine and run against somebody that has spent 7 or 8 months getting ready just for that drill and you've only had weeks to do it? No. So I think it's going to be a trickle-down effect that affects both college football and the NFL next year.
Not only the NFL teams reaching for players, but what about trading their picks because they don't know what to do with these numbers? Maybe they don't know how to value these numbers. Maybe they utilize trading the picks to get already established players in the NFL to their team.
Yeah, such a great point. And look, if you're in the market right now for an edge rusher and somebody says, all right, you can trade your first-round pick to the Jags for Yannick Ngakoue, who doesn't want to play in Jacksonville, you're going to be giving up a first-round pick in what will be one of the harder drafts to judge in history, or you can keep that pick and roll the dice. I'm trading that pick all day, every day. If there's a player out there that's given the production that I know I can get something out of, I would gladly move questionable draft picks, especially remembering most bad teams are bad because they don't draft well. So you already don't draft well, and now you're going to have this difficult draft. So trade it all day. Get yourself an impact player if you can.
Jason Fitz, I know, obviously, football, usually August, it's football. I mean, we're playing preseason games, baseball's in the dog days, everything else is kind of closed up. Do you feel that there's a lack of anticipation for the football season because of all the other stuff going on, or do you feel that this is similar? Because normally by August, you're like, all right, get the summer over with. Let's get to the fall football season, baby. Let's go. I'm not feeling that. Are you?
No, you're right about that. There's a different level of hype. And I think, honestly, it's because we're a jaded country right now. And like, look, if you just got out of a bunch of bad relationships and now you hit the open market, you immediately think she's crazy and she's going to hurt you, right? Like, that's where I think we are with the NFL. We just keep looking at it saying, yeah, I can see games now, but are the games going to last? Are we going to get week after week of football? How much of the season are we going to get? What's it going to look like? I think people have gotten so consumed with the what if and how this can go wrong that people are afraid to just love. I just want to love the sport right now. So you're right. The hype level is different, but I think that has a lot to do with fear on the ability for it to be sustainable.
How much of the hockey playoffs are you watching?
It is. Look, and we've talked about this before. I'm a hockey guy. I'm still enraged that the Predators managed to break my heart again and not get anything done in the bubble. But look, the hockey has been, I think, considering the fact that guys haven't been on skates in a long time, I am just stunned to see the level of play that we're seeing. And look, give me 6 overtimes all day long. Don't at me with this shootout stuff. I don't need shootouts. Like I want 18 overtimes if we can get it in a game. I don't think anybody that has never sat in an arena or sat and watched a playoff hockey game in overtime, I don't think there's a drug that's better than that. So I'm all in on it, and it's been incredible in the bubble. And look, the NHL hasn't gotten enough love for what they've been able to do, not only with their testing, but also for the product they're putting on the ice right now.
I couldn't agree more. And not just with hockey. This goes with basketball as well and baseball. With the no fans thing, I was just so curious on how it would be like in an NHL Stanley Cup game and no fan reaction, no obnoxious noise. I've actually heard clips of the 2010 Flyers playoff run, and it was at the Wells Fargo Center, and it was electric. It was so loud, and it felt awkward hearing it. So my point to bring that up is I feel I'm so accustomed to no fans already. How do you feel about that?
You're totally right. And, the funny thing is I do these sports beats that you guys can hear on ESPN radio affiliates. And every day I write something different for a couple of minutes. And today I talk about no fans no longer matters. Like, I think we've gotten so used to it so quickly. And if that's what it takes to give us sports. And, look, I'll never forget sitting in Bridgestone Arena for the Preds during their Stanley Cup playoff or final run. And late in the game, that silence is just, it's deafening. It's part of what makes the hair stand up on your arms. It's part of what makes the entire experience so incredible. And I'm feeling that in these games. I don't know why, but I've become sort of, I'm wrapped up in it. I'm wrapped up in the silence already. And yeah, it was weird at first. Now I kind of love it. And so if that's what it takes to give me football this fall, I'm in for it all day, every day, because I think it has made, particularly the NBA, the NHL, it's made it more exciting to watch.
What do you think of this story of, it just came out just a minute ago, the Seattle Seahawks have cut rookie Kemeth Savard this week after he was caught on video trying to sneak a female visitor into the team hotel. Well, the female visitors shut down the football season.
Well, look, not if we keep doing that. I do think the teams that win are going to be the teams that can accept having a different lifestyle. And that's like so cheesy to say, but it's true. And that's why, we see Dak moving into the Omni Hotel, right? Because he understands that the teams that win are the teams that have not only the coaching, but the locker room leadership that tell everybody, hey, this is the way our culture is going to run here. And that culture means you're going to make sacrifices you've never had to make before. And if I'm the Seahawks, if I ran an NFL team today and saw that same thing from somebody that I can afford to just cut, I'm doing it right away because it sends a drastic message that, hey, we're not going to stand for it. And look, if I look across the board at the different municipalities that are more open, that are letting people party, that are letting people go out, if I'm a fan of that team, I'm just putting my shirts away this fall saying it's going to be rough, because we all know if these players have temptation and it takes them out of the bubble, takes them out of the quarantine, takes them into the normal life that they're going to lead, I don't think you can do that responsibly without putting your team at risk. So it's going to be interesting to see who has the self-control to maintain the joy of quarantine for months on end.
He's Jason Fitz, and you can hear him starting Monday night on the new Spain and Fitz show here on 97.3 ESPN Radio, at Jason Fitz on Twitter. And, of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Enjoy the rest of the day, Jay.
Have a great week, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. We'll talk to him again next week as the NBA playoffs will be here.